Hello, I'm Matthew with System Offline 360, and I'm a developer that came from the city out into the country. Today I'm going to be talking about my fascination with retro gaming. So this video idea started with the conversation I had with my son, centered around Bonk. I was telling my son what games used to be like when I was younger, and some of the games that I like to play. And he got interested when I was telling him about Bonk's Adventure. He thought it was sounded silly but fun. Just the idea of this caveman twirling around and bonking things with his head. And it's kind of a kooky, zany game. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And he wanted to play the game. And unfortunately, although I was able to find this cartridge, the original Hue card, they're expensive. That's one problem. The other problem is finding something to play it on. And I'm a developer, so I know all about ROMs and emulators and things. I'm against ripping ROMs and or downloading ROMs and playing them on retro emulator systems. I do have one that can play emulation, but I'm using that for a system called Pico-8. So I'll get to that in a minute. But basically, I have a plan to eventually get a system to play the old TurboGrafx Hue cards so my son can play some of the games that I told him about. But in the meantime, and the purpose of this video really, in my quest for trying to find something unique and something like that would allow me to express myself with my games, creating games, I found Pico-8. And the reason I like it better than JavaScript games or any of these other, and if you're not a programmer, don't worry, I'm not going to get really technical here. But basically, Pico-8 limits everything in a way that makes developing games simple. In fact, it makes it simple enough that my son and I together have created a game. We call it his game. He came up with a lot of the concepts, the whole concept, and drew most of the graphics and made most of the sound effects and patched them together, sequenced them together to create soundtrack. And it's his game, and it's based on Hulk. So he, when I told him that we couldn't get a TurboGrafx, so too expensive to buy an old one and all of that, and he was kind of bummed. But then he challenged me to, why can't you just make one with Pico-8, Dad? Okay, so Pico-8. Pico-8 is a game engine. They call it a fantasy console because there really wasn't any hardware. Now you can run it on just about anything these days. I like to run it on GameForce Chi, which uses the Raspberry Pi version of Pico-8, and all the games will run just fine on it. You can run it on your Mac or Linux or Windows. And the great thing about Pico-8 is it lets you develop games and play them and download games that other people have made. So I like that because there's just an access to thousands of games made by other people. And some of the people that it has attracted are brilliant game developers in their own right. And one game that became famous that started with Pico-8 was Celeste. So, if you know the history of that, then you already know something. There's something like here, right? There might be other game systems that you can code on and stuff, but there's something special about Pico-8 and its community that I think is going to become part of gaming, right? There's going to be, I mark my words. But anyway, I want to introduce you to Pico-8 if you haven't seen it. We have kind of just, show you my version of Bonk. You won't be able to hear the sound, and the video kind of might look choppy to you. It's very fluid to me when I'm playing it, but just the way that making videos are, I'm not very good at making videos, so bear with me. So I'm going to go ahead and run the game. Hold on, I suppose in order to run the game, I would probably I need to share my screen, don't I? Okay, sorry about that. So here's Pico-8, and I'm going to load the game. This is how you would load a game if you're not in an emulated system like my GameForce GA showed you. So this is just like classic console game system. And here's my Pico-8 version of Bonk. So it's not identical, obviously, if you know anything about the TurboGrafx version. But I think, the point is, this is for my son. It's not like something designed to be sold or anything. Pico-8, we don't sell games. You could sell them, but they're free. And that makes the community working together not only to provide games for each other, but to provide, help and tutorials and a variety of other tools and things to help you make your games and just improve your experience with Pico-8. And that's the community is like the second biggest feature, in my opinion, of Pico-8. The community is just really awesome, and there's so many games that some of them are just, you name it, just about any kind of game that you can think of, genre, is available in Pico-8. I'm obviously not very good at my own, keep dying, but I'm also not very good at talking and playing at the same time. Rather than showing more of the gameplay, I'd like to show you what makes building games so easy and great. So this is a simple Lua, a very simple to learn scripting language. It's easier than JavaScript. It's really nice to use this. So what I did for this game is somebody else had made a game engine for Pico-8 for a platformer. And I used that, and I just enhanced it with stuff for Bonk and made my own graphics, inserted my own graphics and stuff like that. So here's the graphics editor, okay? And some of these graphics were actually part of the game engine that it came with, some of it, and some of it I added myself to make it more like Bonk. You'll see those, and of course the Bonk graphics and stuff. And then you create your little graphics, and then you can create your map, okay? And you use the code to access the sprites and everything, and depending on how you set it up, that's how you build your game. You access the map, you access the sprites, you access sounds and music. And you can just draw the map here in your map editor, and you have a certain amount of space allotted for that. And then you can make your sounds, and once you have a set of sounds you want to use, you can sequence them into tracks or your songs for the game, right? More complicated than just the pattern of sounds. So that's the editor, and in Splore, this is part of Pico-8, you can just go in and you can search. So if I want to search for, I don't know, at this point, there are a lot of versions of Celeste available. I search for Celeste and I come up with some of them are great adaptations, and then you can, of course, find the original. But it's famous within the Pico-8 community, so that's why there's so many variations. But basically, this goes to part of what makes them so cool is the builders of Celeste submitted it to the community, and then those people were able to open it up and see the code and the graphics and everything and make changes to them because it's not closed source, right? We don't need to hack into anything or do any crazy stuff like that. We just, we can go with it and make any adjustments. And, I'm not going to name the game, but I actually downloaded a game once that didn't work and there was a bug in it. And being a programmer, I was able to fix it, and away I go. And that's something like I made a comment on the original game thing, the game forum, because in the community we have a lot of posts where people are posting their game. Then you can leave comments about it, and you can have a discussion with the developers and all of these things. So it's a community, right? So it's been around for a few years, so by now there's so many games, I'm telling you. And there's educational platform version of the game of Pico-8. So this is actually being used to teach youth about computer graphics and programming. So it's very accessible. All right, I'm going to leave. There's a lot to say about Pico-8. I'm going to leave it there. I hope that you go check it out. If you have any comments about Pico-8 or about Bonk's Adventure or TurboGrafx or retro gaming in general, go ahead and leave some comments. Like and subscribe if it suits your fancy. And I just appreciate your time. And I'll see you later.